Hi, everybody, and greetings from Davenport, Iowa. I'm Pastor Rob Leverage, and happy to be with you today, bringing a message from the table, our church here in Davenport. It is good to be with you for this gospel reading. We do appreciate it if you like and subscribe to this channel, this message, wherever you're receiving it. And please drop us a line to say hello if you have not done so already. If you have prayer requests, we'd love to pray for you. If you want to comment on this message or send us a private message on the platform where you're getting this or at our website, thetableqc.com. Also, if you just want to be in touch and maybe raise your thoughts or your questions about the topics that we discuss in the messages that we post on our podcast and our YouTube channel, we would just love to hear from you, and it's really great to be sharing this time with you today. So God bless you. Our scripture today comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5. What I'm about to read is part of the Sermon on the Mount, and we're going to get into a little bit of the details there, but this is a section of 3 chapters, Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7, in which Jesus has gathered his disciples together on a mountain, and he gives them a very long series of teachings. It's called the Sermon on the Mount by church people. Jesus does not say, and here's my sermon on this mountain here. It's not really a sermon because he basically gives teachings and wisdom on topics that are really all over the map, and it's basically a collection of his wisdom sayings. So it's not a cohesive single message or story or sermon, but there's just all kinds of things. And the scripture that we're going to look at, this one little teaching in the midst of this whole teaching, it's part of one particular section, and it's a teaching that I don't hear people talk about that much in church or in religious settings, but it is a really compelling teaching, I think, and it's really interesting for us to consider. So let's open our hearts and open our ears and give a good listen. Here we go. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, "You shall not swear falsely, but carry out the vows you have made to the Lord." But I say to you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. Let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything more than this comes from the evil one. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay, so as I was saying, this teaching is part of the Sermon on the Mount, right? And within the Sermon on the Mount, there is a list, like a series of teachings. It's kind of like a litany, one after the other, that Bible people, Bible students, Bible scholars often refer to as the counterpoints, okay? And it's one teaching after another in which Jesus says, "You have heard this," and then he gives some kind of well-established ancient teaching or conventional wisdom, and then he says, "But I say this." So the format is, "You have heard this," and then he keeps going, and then, "But I say this." Okay. Now, I would guess that the most famous teaching that is in this list of counterpoints would be Matthew chapter 5, verse 38, which is what he says right after the one that I read about swearing and swearing falsely. And in that one, it goes like this. Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also." So this is Jesus' famous teaching that people use. The shorthand for it is turn the other cheek. This is one of the most famous things that Jesus ever said. In fact, a lot of people don't even know that that comes from Jesus, okay? But this is one among a list of things where Jesus addresses various topics such as anger. He addresses the topic of adultery, the topic of divorce, and also very famously, the topic of love and hate. This is a very important one. So the quote here is, "You have heard that it was said," right? "Love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you." See, that's a pretty big counterpoint, right? You have heard it said, but I say, okay. Now, our topic in this scripture, like I said, it's not necessarily the most commonly repeated of these topics, okay? It is about oaths and promises that we make. And this doesn't get as much attention, if you think about all the stuff that religious people are always talking about, right? What are the important sins? What are the important commandments, right? If you ask somebody to list the teachings of Jesus, I'm not really sure anybody would mention this particular one. But it is obviously something that Jesus was concerned about because it's part of the Sermon on the Mount, okay? So it's interesting that I would say it's interesting that we overlook it. Like, what does that say about us? That we in particular, we like to sort of forget about the one having to do with oaths and swearing. Okay, but the teaching is, you have heard it said, do not swear falsely. But I say to you, do not swear at all. So what is it exactly here that Jesus is concerned about, such that he would articulate such a prohibition, right? I'm thinking about this, and in thinking about this question, I'm asking myself, okay, well, what does it actually mean to swear to someone? Okay, what does it actually mean to swear by something or someone, or to swear on someone, right? Because we hear that language all the time. Yeah, people say it very casually, like it's no big deal, but they say, I swear on my children, XYZ. I swear on my mother, right? I swear on everything that is holy. I swear on my mother's grave, right? I swear on the lives of, whatever. What does that actually mean, right? Because Jesus says, don't swear on heaven, okay? Don't swear by the earth. Don't swear by your own head. He says, what is happening then when we swear by heaven? If somebody swears on Jerusalem, which is another example given in this teaching, like what if I swear on the life of my children? What do we mean by that when people say that stuff? Okay, I have to say, I'm not a linguist. I'm not a student of historical language usage. I don't have a very scholarly treatment of this concern. And I do recommend that we not assume that what we mean by something is how people, always use this certain language, like in another time and place. In exploring the principle of what it means to swear to something or on something, I want us to be modest and humble and just know that it is possible that we are using this terminology in ways that don't necessarily line up with the way people used it in the past. But we're trying to get some meaning out of this for us today, right? I'd like to just try to be as broad and as basic in our attempt at defining the idea that we are sort of relying on as we read this teaching from Jesus, these ancient words, and trying to get some kind of guidance from them. Okay, so what does it mean if you are swearing on something, right, or swearing by something? I think that one thing we can say about that is that if you are swearing by something, you are trying to convince somebody else that you mean what you say. Either you're trying to convince them that you're telling the truth about something, or you're trying to convince them that you are going to do something that you say that you're going to do, right? It is a promise. And if you swear on something, you are trying to underscore the importance of whatever it is that you are promising, right? So you're saying that this thing right here that we're talking about right now is a really big deal, and I really mean what I am saying about it right now, okay? So for example, you would never swear on something that is worthless, right? I would never say, I swear on this paperclip that I will defend our home from bandits and marauders. No, if you're gonna swear, you're gonna swear on something that's a little bit more important than this paperclip, right? And conversely, you would never swear on something important or swear by something really important if you're swearing about something unimportant, right? So I would never say, like, I swear on the lives of my children that I will bring the red Solo cups to the 4th of July barbecue, right? Obviously, that's crazy. If I swear on my children, it's some kind of indication that whatever we're talking about is as important to me as my children, right? Don't bring them into it unless it's a really big deal, right? So even if it was true, okay, that I did not double park, right? Double parking itself is a frivolous concern. So you would never say, I swear on my mother's grave, I did not double park, right? Of course. Okay. Now, in some cases, and it appears to me that, like, this is something I'm sort of drawing on, like, from older references, like in the works of William Shakespeare and maybe some places in the Bible. And again, I am not an expert of it. I have not studied this, but there appears, in some things that I've read, there appears to be some kind of moral collateral that is being implied when you swear on this or that or this person or that person, like you're tethering the thing that you swear by to the oath somehow, like in some kind of magical or cosmic sense, so that if I swear on my children, if I'm lying, or if it is proven that I am lying, I might actually be jeopardizing my children in some way, like there's some magic involved, or I might bring some divine curse upon my children if I am lying and I tether my untruthfulness to them. Or if I swear on my mother's grave, right? There's some sense that if I was lying, my mother might not be able to rest in peace. She might be disturbed in her grave by my moral transgression of lying, depending on the belief systems of the people involved in this dialogue, whatever, right? But the idea is that whatever I'm swearing on is actually bound up in the oath itself, so that if I am dishonest in this moment, right, that actually implicates somebody or something, in my moral transgression. Therefore, I swear on my mother as a way of trying to convince you to believe what I'm saying to you. Because if I'm being untruthful to you, it could jeopardize her, and you better believe I would never do that. Right? And it's a tactic that I employ in order to get you to believe that, yes, I am telling the truth. Okay. Jesus says, don't do that. Don't do any of it. Don't swear on this, that, the other, right? No, Jesus says don't swear at all. Why? Because just tell the truth, baby. Just tell the truth. Okay? If someone asks you a question, be honest, right? If you're deciding whether to do something, don't swear that you are going to do it. Don't swear that you're not going to do it. Don't swear I would never do such a terrible thing, right? Just say that you're going to do it if you're going to do it. And if you say you're going to do it, do it. Right? And if you say you're not going to do something, don't do it. Right? No swearing is necessary. Okay, now this is kind of simple, right? It's very practical, but I would say it's more than just practical. See, the practical thing is straightforward. Actually, twofold. The practical thing. First, swearing on this or that, it's not actually a reliable indicator of a person's trustworthiness, because if you're somebody that's going to knowingly lie, you're going to look me in the face and just say something that you don't mean, right? You're going to break promises because that's just how you roll. Then why should we expect that you're going to care if your mother is rolling over in her grave about it, right? Obviously this doesn't mean anything to you, right? But more to the point, the truth is you get a reputation for being truthful and trustworthy. If you come through for people, if you do what you say you're going to do over and over again, the facts show that you tell the truth. And on the basis of that, people are going to believe what you say, right? Simply telling the truth consistently, being honest over and over, consistently over time, that matters much more than you swearing to people about, I'm truthful, right? And on the other hand, if you have lied, if you have been deceitful, if you have a track record of dishonesty and broken promises, then no amount of swearing is going to convince people that you're telling the truth, right? At that point, your oath with your hand on your heart, and I swear on all that is holy, this is about as worthless as a degree from Trump University, right? Sure, good for you, right? And something interesting to consider is that in such a circumstance where you have established a track record of dishonesty, you might actually have a moment when you are telling the truth, right? But if you have demonstrated that you are someone who often deceives, people will need to verify what you're saying today by other means. Yeah, maybe you are telling the truth on this particular occasion, but people aren't going to be able to take your word for it. They're going to have to verify that, because you saying, I swear, it means nothing. Okay. So with that in mind, it's actually, a little bit insulting to swear on something like heaven or Jerusalem or your mother. I mean, leave heaven out of this, man. Jesus says, heaven is the throne of God, okay? Don't try to lasso the exalted seat of glory and diminish it by dragging it down here and tethering it to your petty agenda, right? Don't bring your mama into this, right? I swear on my mother. No, let your mother be dignified in her own repose, right? Because this is about you telling the truth or not. Right? Your promise is not going to be made good because you have brought heaven into the discussion, right? Your promise is going to be good if you make good on your promises. That's the way it goes, right? Jesus says, not only should you not swear falsely, don't swear at all. Instead, say yes, yes, or no, no. Say what you have to say. Tell the truth. That's it. Okay. Now, there is a problem here. There is a real and unfortunate fact, as I'm saying all this stuff. Some listeners are probably thinking about this one real thorn in this particular issue. You might be asking the question, okay, so what if you actually do what Jesus describes? You don't swear. You do tell the truth. You keep your promises. You come through on what you say you will do. But people still do not believe you. They do not trust you. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is a real thing that happens in people's experiences, it really might not be your fault. People may mistrust or distrust because of the stuff that's going on with them, their personal, dysfunctional, unhelpful reasons that they have for not trusting other people, right? It can be just very, very unfair, the way we get judged for reasons that are out of our control. You could be judged untrustworthy because of the way that you look, right? And some people will look at you and think, and there's nothing about you that raises alarms for them, but then other people, right, there's something about you that because of their particular predilections and prejudices and whatever, they're not going to trust you, right? Sometimes people don't trust you for being a certain age, young or old. Some people have a problem with the neighborhood that you live in or the school that you go to, right? You could be judged to be untrustworthy because somebody that you are related to has had problematic behaviors, or they are dishonest, or they have committed crimes, or they have betrayed people, right? And then you're viewed as guilty just because of your association with them. It might not even be an association that you chose. It could just be because it's a member of your family or something, right? And people are asking this question, can anything good come out of that house? Or they say things like, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, that sort of thing, right? And, it really might not be in your control, despite the fact that you have done everything in your control to demonstrate that you are believable. You are somebody that should be trusted and whose integrity should be believed, okay? Jesus tells us to do what is right, but it is not a guarantee that people will treat you right, right? We are not promised that people will trust us to the degree that we deserve to be trusted, right? Sometimes trust is placed in the wrong people. Sometimes the right people are not trusted, right? And so this teaching that he gives us on oaths, it has two sides to it. Because if you lie, if you break promises, people can't trust you no matter what you swear upon. So just tell the truth. But on the other hand, if you do exactly what he says, if you tell the truth, if you fulfill your promises, it is still up to the other person whether or not they will trust you. And hopefully they will, and definitely they should, but maybe they won't, right? But then that kind of gets back to the original point, because why would you, frankly, like if you have done everything right and you're still not trusted, then why would you waste your energy? Why would you undercut your own dignity by swearing to somebody and trying to convince them? I swear to you, I'm telling the truth, right? Why would you try to win somebody over with swearing if it's somebody that wouldn't be convinced by the facts of your actual conduct, right? If they're not going to judge you by the content of your character anyway, why bother swearing about it, right? So let your yes be yes, baby. Let your no be no. And trust, beloved, that the Spirit of truth is with you and God knows your heart. It's true. And as the Lord your shepherd leads you, as God leads you in the paths of righteousness, you will find the nourishment and the rest to be well and the courage and strength to do what's right. You will. I promise. Thanks be to God. Amen.